Do you guys think world peace is possible? I do not. Romulus kills Remus, Cain kills Abel, Quetzalcoatl pushes Tezcatlipoca into the river, and all of the children of Asina eat each other. The first man will always try and kill the second man. I don't believe world peace is possible. And right now, we live in a very tumultuous time where people fear Armageddon, nuclear catastrophe, imminent warfare. They fear that the name at the end of their tombstone will be someone they do not know. They fear that it will be some supreme leader of Iran, some leader in Korea, some general in Russia, some warlord in Africa and maybe somewhere in India eventually that you've never heard of getting a hold of a nuclear weapon threatening your life. If you elect me, I will bury a whole bunch of nuclear devices under many states in America. And when things get too heated in the world, I will not worry about which general or which world leader pressed a button that's about to end my life. Because I, Cameron Harris, Mayor of Chicago, 2027, am campaigning to kill you. I will bury nuclear devices under the continental United States, and if other powers fire their nuclear devices, I will detonate mine, and I will turn the world into a poisoned apple, killing everyone. I will not care that the nuke flying out of Russia is aimed at someone in Chile. I will not care that the nuke flying out of Brazil is aimed at Germany, because I killed everyone. The nuclear bombs under New Mexico, under Arizona, under Illinois turned the world into a poisoned apple. Your tombstone will read, March 13th, 1969, and it will end with June 32nd, 2036, Cameron Harris, Mayor of Chicago. I'm not gonna worry about buttons and bombs because I'm more dangerous than you. When I think about, I don't listen to John Lennon's music, but one day while I was driving to work, Steve Shannon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Shannon was talking about a girl he used to have a crush on. And one day, her favorite musician, John Lennon, passes away. In keeping up with the girl, Steve Shannon begins to listen to John Lennon's music. Out of respect for this memory, Steve Shannon plays John Lennon's Imagination, which is a song about a world without borders.
When I think about the scenarios that could lead to world peace, I am floored by the system of hoops and ladders that is the European Union, the giant, infinitely spinning torture wheel that is Europe. Did you know that Alsace-Lorraine is part of France right now? The thing that started every European conflict between the Kingdom of France and Germany as a concept, German people as an identity, was who owns Alsace-Lorraine. You have the entire construction of modern history, going from Frederick the Great and Maria Theresa to Napoleon to World War I to World War II, all hinging on Alsace-Lorraine. And then one day, the European Union is founded and the giant torture wheel stops spinning, because now it is more economically viable to trade and compete with each other than to point a gun at that Frenchman and say, give me back my land. It is cheaper to say that warmongerer is crazy because all of us are already making enough money. What do we need Alsace-Lorraine back for? What will you die for when everyone is already making enough money? And so the torture wheel has stopped. And somehow there's peace in Europe after 2,000 years of consistent conflict over Luxembourg. What is the most consentable form of government? One in which you are okay with paying taxes into, correct? The average American likes to say things that the only things that are unavoidable in life are death and taxes. And that is so interesting because nobody wants to die, right? That's the punishment in the Bible, right? Is death. Because ultimately you don't want to die. And that is representative of God's power over life and death to serve you something you don't want. You see, that is power, to serve you death. But Jeff Bezos could not even get me evicted from my house. Jeff Bezos couldn't make me quit my job. Jeff Bezos could not repossess my car. Right? Like when the bank comes and forecloses on your house, that is power. To take you from your home and put a for sale sign in front of it is power. To repossess your car over unpaid debts or a mechanic's lien is power. For the police to show up and arrest you and to hold you for 24 hours without a warrant is power. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, can do none of these things. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, has no power. But the most consentable form of government is one in which you are okay with paying taxes into. And I was talking with my grandmother one day because she pays tithe to her church. She is a Baptist woman, and her pastors steal from her. Her church has had 3 pastors previously steal from them. They are on pastor number 4. And yet she firmly believes in paying tithe to a system that she obviously is aware is stealing from her, is openly corrupt, is lying to her and shaking her hand. And yet she says, I should pay my tithe. I don't want to pay my taxes. How interesting. And so the most representative, the most consentable form of government must be a theocracy, because you actually don't mind paying your tithe, right? Like when you go to church and you talk to like all the older people, they don't want to pay their taxes, but they will look at you cross-eyed for not paying tithe. And so I vote for His Holiness, the Pope Leo, respectfully, I'm not sure which one you are, Leo the Second, Leo the Third. I know that there's a Leo the First. Do I know any Leo the First facts? He did a lot of council stuff. I don't know any more Leo the First facts. I know that he was one of the, first popes to send, papal legates to the councils to make his voice heard, which is convenient that your Pope Leo the something, and I keep telling you to make your voice heard. Did you know that they call you the Quiet Pope? I think it is so endlessly fascinating. that you are the American Pope from Chicago who conveniently speaks the exact same dialect of English I do. So you know what I mean when I say it is not a good thing for the American media to call you quiet. It's odd to think about that the Pope is like the oldest Republican elected official in like continuous government capacity, right? When we think of like the freedom of the American government, we talk about the freedom of choosing our president, but like we are pounded into our heads repeatedly throughout our education. Like distinctly remember learning in 5th grade with Mr. Irvin, and oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I don't remember your name. I know you were the Jewish guy in, oh my goodness. You replaced another teacher in that room, and you were a Jewish guy, and you had like psoriasis on your elbow. I distinctly apologize. I don't remember your name, but I remember the things I was taught in that classroom. I was taught repeatedly in like 5th grade, in 7th grade, my, sophomore history class, my, my English literature class with like younger Mr. Haggerty the younger, with Mr. Vasquez's U.S. History Studies class. I'm serious. The amount of times people have repeatedly and explicitly reminded me, the American public, that you do not choose our president through the popular vote, that we choose it through the Electoral College, is explicit and repeated, and it has bludgeoned me to death. But it's worth noting that the system that chooses His Holiness the Pope is the exact same system that chooses the office of the president, right? We have the Electoral College. They have the College of Cardinals. We, the wider Catholic community, have quite literally never picked His Holiness. That has been the privilege reserved for the cardinals. We, the wider American community, have never directly voted for the president. That has been the privilege and honor of the Electoral College. And yet His Holiness has my vote as the most stable and consentable form of government. A lot of people like to talk about all of the damages that like religious life, religious philosophy, religious identity could bring you. But it's hard to acknowledge the fact that if we were living in a system dictated by His Holiness the Pope, it would be difficult rather to argue about the nature of somebody's human rights. Because we in America have human rights because, the founding fathers fought for it, right? Like, they wrote up the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Amendment, like X, Y, and Z. But it's hard to argue with His Holiness saying, you have human rights because God said so. Because I, His Holiness, said so. It is difficult to argue with the divine oration of His Holiness, the divine right that you have human rights, actually. It's hard to take them from you when God said so. Oops.